I will explain later on. And this is a time lapse. It's a sequence of sky images of 9 months from April to December last year. And the sound that I'm shutting now down is generated based on the weather data of exactly those days. Okay, that's not for my importance. So, hello. Thank you very much, Sylvia, for the invitation. So I don't really know you, and I'm here only for this night, this talk, so there's no chance to really get to know each other. So I come here and think that because it's very a one-way relationship in a way, that I hope that I can convey the idea that you translate your personal fascinations or interest in your own work, in your design work. So this is basically my own motivation to get that across. Well, then when we talk about interest, I was always very fascinated by technology and the way technology influences our daily lives, our society, everything changes, flux, constant, incredible rapid changes. So I thought, that this is a phenomenon, or this tendency you have to use in your work. Your work has to coincide with this development. And even also if you work with print media or static media and not dynamic media, this aspect, it has to coincide. So what I was doing all different kinds of work that was reflecting these thoughts. And it somehow just happened that nobody really could define anymore what corner I was belonging to. Was I doing graphic design? Was I a web designer? Was I an artist? Or am I whatever, media, and so forth? So the outside world really sort of stimulated my work in that way, that I thought, together with 3 friends that I were thinking similarly, we have to define now actually what we are doing. If you cannot define it anymore with the medium, then it is the way of thinking. So, so we came together every Tuesday in my kitchen, and we were discussing, what is it then? So after 3/4 of a year about the tech in books and artistry and so forth, we said, okay, we have to call it conditional design. That was the consequence. And I will talk today about conditional design and show you lots of different examples how you can translate this thinking in work. And well, the conditional in grammar already, you know that, is means if something is like that, then something else happens, for example. So it always talks about dependency. That means things are not fixed, static, but always dependent on the situation, on the context. It's always, the dependency is a very important aspect. So the conditional design, we wrote a manifesto. You might have read it online before. I only very briefly explain what the basic pillars of this are. How this thinking is divided in 3 parts. The first part is the process. That's what you say this is the thing that is interesting to us. To see something which is constantly changing, running. It's the dynamic aspect. Second is the conditions. So you must really visualize it in a diagram almost. The conditions is the framework, the environment where the process takes place within. And the conditions, we claim we should design them with logic, as clearly as possible. And then the third aspect is the input for your conditions, or for the environment. And the input should come from the external world, like social interaction, human interaction, people, nature, not something from within the computer. Like otherwise you could think of a screensaver, for example. A new number generated all the time, for example. So, so it has to have a relationship to the outside world. And this might sound very rigid, this structure and this logic, but this setup or this frame basically is really important, that is very rigid. So what is actually the most important thing is to read something between the lines, something which is hard to describe, or you cannot find. It's pretty hard to say that goes beneath the thing that you can really hardly easily describe, or which is explainable. So, you must imagine if you have a grid, then things that don't fit within the grid are visible. If you wouldn't have the grid, everything's. So, okay, I've divided the lecture in two parts. In the one part, I always call it visualizing existing processes, things that are already there in nature and so forth, and you just think of the system to visualize it. And the second part is generating new processes. So it's more like baby images. And also very end tools, design tools. So I really invite you, I don't know whether Sylvia said that also in Italian, you forgot to say. Yeah, I like it if you have questions there to say it, it can be more of a discussion. So I mean, I can talk, I have lots of projects, and I will see on your face, hopefully, if you get into full, then I just rush through, but that's also not easy. So, well, this first project that I wanted to show you is a project which actually was initiated because I was supposed to make an identity for a media art festival, and I wanted to use the sky as a background for the website that influences everything on the website, the style, depending on the color of the sky. This festival didn't go through in the end, so this turned out into an autonomous, in fact, installation that was running for 5 years. So it was put up a camera on the roof, and also the product, the movie you saw at the beginning is a product, one of the products of this installation. So here the input is nature, is the light from outside, and the conditions, you could say, my setup is the camera with a fixed point, and it makes an image every 5 minutes of the sky. And I set it up in 2005, and it was running until December 2010. Now it's over. So you can imagine that accumulated a huge archive of images, like every 5 minutes for 5 years. And it's high quality image. It's not a webcam, but it's a photograph camera. It's important because so another criterion, I think, for what I like when designing, and the idea of conditional design as well, is that you get surprised by what you're actually designing. You get surprised about what comes out. You don't really know it beforehand yet. And you don't, that is an aspect that you give the control away to the system. It's a shift of control to design from the system. The end product. So this is just to show you, as you've seen at the beginning, the sort of images that the system will produce. And then this incredible archive of 500,000 images or something. There are different possibilities to reveal that. And one was the Sky Browser, it's a website I made where you can select the date and the interval to go through the whole history and see the sky at this moment. So this is just an example. You see now one day has 288 images if you choose the interval of 5 minutes. You see, you can click on the image and it gets big. And the whole archive is, by the way, Creative Commons. We can use it and work with it if you like. Yeah, these are different, just day cycles. But because of the system, how it displays the information, you all of a sudden see processes, you see relations, you see the sky that you have, I've never looked at it before that way. So to me that was many years very fascinating. Also the sort of traits that you, for example, there was high projection, but you see loads of different nuances of grey in the night, for example, if there's more, it's cloudy, if the light reflects more of the city, or all different kinds of phenomena in the sky. So it was just fascinating. And I showed this very quickly with because on the website you can also generate time-lapses from selections that you make, say animate, make a movie. So these kind of small quality movies. But I show that because another important thing is that at the beginning I spoke, if I set up the system, the camera with the box, and it should make these images, like you see the sky, beautiful. But because of the way I set it up, it was sometimes, for example, in the winter it's very cold outside, but the sun shines in the camera, that means you get condensed on the glass. So you get like all different kinds of side effects because of your system. The beginning I thought, oh shit, it goes wrong or it's not good. But actually that is what I embrace that. That's exactly what I like. Or certain strange flash things happening sometimes because the camera was weird, or the fact of you have raindrops on the glass and then the moon reflects in the raindrops. So all these kind of effects that I wouldn't think of, that I wouldn't design, but you see like amazing effects. So this movie that I showed at the beginning is like only 9 months running through, but it's 3.5 hours, and if you look at it for a while, it's all different kinds of things happen. So I made another thing because I thought, okay, I want to make a poster, A0 maximum size, and just calculated how many images do I fit. If I want to show 1 year on one A0 poster, certain size, when I use certain size. So then this shape came out. And this is because I placed 2 days in one row. And the interval is half an hour. So every half an hour a sky picture, and then 2 days on one row, and then just every 2 days on each other for 1 year, and then you see this. So you see that the shape, of course, comes from summer and winter. So the days are very short. It starts in September, and then it's getting October, November, December, it's getting short, and then it's getting summer, August, and so forth. And the horizontal stripes are when the technique failed. So there was internet broken, camera broke, the system computer telling the camera to make a picture broke, lots of parts that can break. And I like it also, the fact that another side effect, the technology becomes visible. Really, like, it's not magic, it's really has its presence there. Well, then that was a 0%, and then for an exhibition, I thought, okay, what shall I do? I would like to see this huge archive and just show more. How would it look if I could see the images bigger and more? And this is only 1.5 years, and only every 10 minutes, so it's like a quarter of the archive, even less. And you see that there's hardly enough room. One wall is 22 meters, I think, or 25 meters, and 6 meters high. But the here is nice that you can also go close. One image is about 3 by 4 centimeters. I mean, here, this is the time shift. You might see in the post as well when we change the hour, the clock, winter and summertime. And yeah, but the only thing is that I could mention is the bigger I thought I make the thing, the smaller, the more ridiculous it felt, because how you want to capture the sky or whether it's just impossible. You can go bigger and bigger, and the smaller you feel like, the more ridiculous it felt to me when I was this was in Lisbon last September at we did it on staircase together with Jonathan. I did this walk. It starts with 7 meters high, no 8 meters, the staircase until 80 centimeters, and there was some kind of one-way effect. So that's another project dealing with nature as input for my system that is a project for a hospital, and it's the sea instead of the sky. Well, the idea was the patients they have to pay for their TV, but I made one channel that was for free, there where they could observe the sea a day and night with a live connection. So there in Holland, somewhere the sea was installed, and there's a short here you see a very big difference because it was a webcam, well, a very good network camera, but the gradations within the image much less than with a photographic camera. So. And then there were also other technical things, but I think a question to myself for this project would be that because what I claim is I'm setting up the system, and for the rest I have no influence anymore. And what comes out, that's it. And so I can, you speak therefore about all the ingredients that you use to make the image or the project. So here, it's a characteristic of the network camera. That it would look like that. So in that sense, you couldn't say that it's failed. So I go quickly through them. This is a website, you could also cycle through. I was curious about what could happen with the tides, the high water and low water, and what kind of visual effects that would give. And then also the people in the hospital would receive every week a postcard. The people who are the patients. Would receive every week a postcard of 1 day, of a day cycle basically, in order to give this digital virtual project of a physical component. And so there are 52 postcards. Now I'm coming from combination to another project, which is where there's nature as input, but also human behavior. And it's a project in the Netherlands where the camera observes a part of the dunes, an area, and everything what moves in that area gets captured. So there's movement detection in the camera. So the orange poles determine the scene basically. And yeah, so here I said this was made for a famous Dutch artist and writer, Wouters, he's called. And he was 1 year dead. He was a very important figure in the Netherlands. And so it was supposed to create a living archive, something that is in his name, living on, basically. He was a man that was very radical. He loved nature. He was very physical, writing against very strong text against religion, very sexual, and anyway, so there was a lot of people loved him because he was breaking all barriers, and so this was the stage basically in his honor, where people could perform and bring homage also. So he, or animals would do whatever, or people would do something in front of the camera. There were like the instructions, so you would know what happened within this area. And you might have seen here the little lights at the pole would indicate whether the camera was running or not. And then automatically after 3 minutes it stopped. You couldn't make something longer than 3 minutes. And the fragment was automatically uploaded on the website. And on the website you would see all the film fragments that show you in a second. So that. And there you see the upper bar. It was also the idea that people, they like the fragment, pull it in the timeline above, and these fragments were live projected. It was a collaborative edited movie that was live projected in the museum that also had an exhibition on $10. So the idea was he began to leave it completely open and leave it over to the internet users to constantly change or adjust this movie when they saw new nice fragments. I have here a short compilation so you get an idea of the fragment. It's not so important. I mean, it's much nicer because the sound quality in this case is really good. People would stand somewhere and there was a really good microphone in this hall down, so you could hear really whistling and the clouds and the wind and it's pretty. So, but here, to talk a little bit more about the idea of conditional design is here that you have nature. I was wondering what, like nature and human input would be equally on exactly the same level. There was no preference, or the system wouldn't say this counts or that counts. The only thing that matters was movement. So further, there was no editing, or there was no editor that would say this or that is better. It was interesting that the natural movement that was created was also followed by light. For example, clouds, and the sun was shining, so it would have the shadow on the clouds and the sand. And that also said it would trigger the camera to make a movie. Or rain or lightning, all these things, not actually an animal walking through. So that was really also very surprising to me. And I will just go to the next project. There, I'm still in here, this project is, the input is, again, human behavior, because this time it is the agenda of a museum, the agenda of the employees of the museum. It's a contemporary art museum in the Netherlands. So this is, you could say, data visualization. A very simple project. The idea was that during the course of the exhibition, that took place half a year, I was constantly, every 2 weeks, going into the museum and adding the agenda, what has happened in the last 2 weeks on the floor. So I was doing it in the course of the exhibition. And the different colors indicate the different categories that the museum has appointments with, such as artists, designers, or municipality, or internal meetings, or meetings with the people living in the neighborhood, or like all different kinds of meetings. So you also see the complexity of the organization. And then it was very simply displayed. Just a week was divided by 2 lines, white lines, like in the normal agenda, with Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on the right, Saturday, Sunday, and horizontal. Vertically, it was time. At the top was 8 o'clock, and the bottom was 10 o'clock. So that is how the shapes were generated. You can read that. I want to interpret this now for you. It's just that I'd like to mention that somehow there is a lot of data visualization going on, of course. And usually you have data and you press on a button on your computer and it spits you out an incredibly fascinating, slick visualization. And this is exactly the opposite. Although it's data visualization, but he is with lots of effort, kneeling on the floor, gluing the tape, and the paper tape gets bolder. It's, the people walk over the stickers into their office, the employees, and so this aging and the engagement of the people coming and seeing me doing it, and this whole process of execution as well is very different to the data visualization that we know very well. And so in a way also this physicality plays a role in this case. And then another aspect I would like to mention for this project is the input, because lots of times we use random as a parameter, because we've seen this phenomenon a lot around us, that you don't like to have one logo or one thing like that, but lots of different variations of the same. And then you use random in order to generate these different images. And we even wrote in the manifest about that aspect. Against that, because that is not meaningful, it's just arbitrary, and we think that there should be a reason for the difference. So in this case, these pretty shapes, they of course have a meaning. And also, the interesting thing is not the individual formation, but the relationship between those formations. And yeah, if you use random input and you don't, it doesn't happen. So that is also something. There's some other designers that talk a lot about processes and work with processes, but law of random, and we really like these two camps. Okay, so well, if you would like to have more questions, please, as I said earlier, you can ask. But otherwise, well, this is an image of an installation we have right now in Holland, in the Graphic Design Museum in Breda. It's a small city in Holland. It's the world's first graphic design museum. And we is Jonathan. I never really mentioned their names. Jonathan Puckey, Wouters, and Paulus, and me, the four of us. We form this collective. But we not always work together. Sometimes not. Anyway, this is made by us for this exhibition. And it consists out of a couple of components. It has a projection in the back, what you see, the sky catcher. On the right, there are 4 screens with 4 movies, and a wallpaper on the left, and newspaper and a website. And what this project is about is all connected. All these elements are connected. It's, by the way, it lasts until September, if you feel like going there. The input here is ourselves, is human behavior, and how we deal with our laptops, how we deal with our computers. Because what we all have is these laptops, and all these laptops, we have exactly the same, the 4 of us. We have this eyesight camera, this camera and reader, and we asked to do the exhibition. We had a long time until it opened, so we made this project where as soon as I open the laptop, this camera makes a picture of me every 5 minutes, until I close my laptop. So all the time when it's open, it photographs me. But it doesn't only photograph me, it photographs everything behind me as well. So it photographs all the other people that are around me, it photographs the spaces I'm in, when I'm in bed, when I'm in a hotel, preparing a lecture, it is wherever I go. It's really, the laptop is our companion, in fact, you would say, this machine. So it was not only photographing us, but for 1 year. Actually, it's still running now. I didn't stop it because I got used to it. No, the camera, simultaneously when the camera would take a picture, a screenshot was made of my screen, what I was working on. So you would have me, but also what we made for the exhibition, we were mixing those 2 images, my portrait with my screen, as if somebody would look from behind the screen to me, and made 4 movies. Each of us had their own movie, like me and the 3 others. And the sound, it also sound generated because we also captured with an application in what program we were working. So we had a database with all the programs at what times, and that was translated into a sound file. Edo, this 4th guy, he's a sound designer, sound artist, and he made 3 categories. I show it and then so I just put it. Oh, I hope that I here compiled just 4 of the movies, just a small fragment, because it takes 3 hours and 40 minutes. And it lasts from 1st of April till 1st of April till December. And there's something wrong with the sound. And doesn't matter. Because we had 3 sound categories. One was when you're doing communication things, like email, Skype, and so forth. One was creative work, when you do this creative design programs and so forth. And one was entertainment on sound. So when you were in watching movies, YouTube, and so forth. So you would also get a feedback. So, and then we had this 9 months projected on those 4 screens, and exactly the same time period of the 1st April to 16th of December was sky capture projected, so that was in sync. So when the sky, when it was getting light and the sun was getting up, you would see a slow, very late actually, as in the studio start working, and then you would get slow. So you would see also what time it was in the day through the big projection. And then this, is there somebody? Huh? Okay. And then there was the light of the whole art space was also adjusted to the sun set and sundown, where the sun was going up and when the sun was going down. So that was in a database when that was, and then so simultaneously in the right sync, the light of the museum was slowly getting. In the evening it was getting on, and in the morning when the sun was getting up, it was getting off. But then a day was 40 seconds, so it was in an interval of 40 seconds around. So that was the part of the exhibition. And then we had a manifest there on one wall, and we had this newspaper I wrote, that's what I know. I have 2, no, 3 with me. And what we did is we wrote a little bit about the project, but also here, what you see, is a very fragile thing, because it is the moment that I open my laptop in the morning, the first image that's shot every day. So it goes just from 1st of April down till December. So you see when you're not opening your laptop one day, well, that's not in that side. But also you see, I mean, the idea was the newspaper, a big morning newspaper, and you in the morning reading the news or checking the email. And so because this whole project, this is me left, and to the right is Edo. He always somehow sits against the light. And that is Jonathan locked in bed when he's opening his laptop. And then Roel, he has a different pattern. It's really terrible pictures. You really have to be, because it's such a rigid project, I dare to show this, because, and it also has this, I go further to next. No, but you can have to use paper. No, but it has this, the whole thing, what it's all about, because this was placed, this exhibition, in a bigger context of data visualization. And the data visualization is always this hard, has this hardness. And this is in fact also data visualization, because all these images that you see in this structure, but what you see is very fragile. It's like this eye that watches you and sees lots of things that you cannot capture in data. If you look at an image and if you look at the expression of a face or the morning. So this is what I like about it, or what I like. And this project is also about that this whole installation, everything is completely logic set up. It's all synced and everything is perfectly aligned, but at the same time it doesn't feel at all rigid, but very poetic and has totally different qualities. Than a rigid system would expect. This wall is a visualization, is an overview of, it's like the sky picture wall. Up you have 12 o'clock in the night and down again 12 o'clock. So a vertical strip is one day, and the four sections are the four people. So I'm the first section. It was the next one. You see, he works much more in the night than I do, because there's more dark, and then Jonathan as well. And Roel, the very last one, hardly, he has two kids. And also in the morning, you see this line is very straight because he gets up really rigid always at the same time. And opens his laptop after he brings his kids to school. So here you get more this overview about dealing with your machine. And the white lines, this bulb, is when the sun goes up and down. So summer is the bigger, bold, round part. And you see that actually we don't adjust our pointing to nature. So we just have our own rhythm, we see, and then nature does what it wants. Yeah, then we made this website. Yeah. Well, this overview, you can see like Google Maps, you can zoom in. So here you have the possibility to have an overview at the same time, look at pictures individually, close by. And you can switch. That's in my studio, that's at home, and so forth, for those that are interested. And then you can switch to Jonathan, exactly here when I write up a navigation. See that? Edu, what's he doing at that moment? Nothing. Wohl, he is. So, sometimes funny because we're in the same space and then you would have the same images from two perspectives. We both have our laptops. And then here we made a special selection. Look what is typical in this huge archive, again, specific, interesting moments or weird pictures that the machine would do out of this behavior. But, you know, so that was, I mean,
That's 16 times in a year.
no, the 16, you mean where I come from, is 16 images.
The 16 images you work on.
Yeah, it's not in a year, it's 9 months this period. But so now this whole system runs much longer. It's somehow much, yeah, somehow just also really nice. Or what a very typical image is this one. You know, you show your fellow something, looking over your shoulder into the screen. Like all different, Jonathan had some lens flare because the sun, when he sits in the studio, is always sun shining in the screen. So there was a nice animation coming up with reflections. Yeah. So there, again, you have this sort of made for you. Okay. So I got a lot of stuff still to show, so I continue with a new section, because now I was talking a lot about visualizations of existing processes, and now I'm talking about generating new processes or initiating new processes. And that you must imagine more like playing or designing as playing games. And yeah, so most of the time when you initiate a new process, the input is something human characteristic, such as your creativity or the failure of the human hand, that you cannot draw straight. So the input is always actually something human. And I want to say something. Yeah, but it's also related to that. I think it's very interesting to have this dialogue between the machine and the person and humans. So in fact, in a lot of projects, a person is put into a situation as if it replaced a machine. But there are still possibilities and openings where you can bring in your creativity or your human characteristics. And that I think is very interesting. There's a little bit of freedom to humans, but not too much. And so this is an example for that. I was making a poster series together with Jonathan for also a design video in Czechia, in Burma. And we had to make two posters, one to announce the exhibition and one to the exhibition. The poster itself was exhibited in the exhibition. And so we thought, okay, in this case, we set up a little poster factory, and we had 10 students working as a machine. They got a code, what they had to do, which is a card. And they got a kit, tape, stickers, the ingredients, what's supposed to be in the poster. And they were set in a circle. The title was already the poster. And then they got time limitation. In order to execute the code once, they had 30 seconds, and then they had to hand it over to their neighbor, everybody simultaneously. I had a bomb, like a ding. So every 30 seconds I was banging the bomb, the next one. So you had to really collaboratively work. Everybody had even much work in each process. This is a short documentation, well, just speed up documentation. And the code itself, we wanted to make something like seeming a bit of a landscape, like a map. So therefore dots and lines, and we have area names and designer names that have to be based on the thing, on poster. And for example, you had to place, if you had a line, you had to place the line starting at one dot and ending at another line, but not crossing more than one line. So there was limitation, but I still had a little bit of freedom, what angle to choose. And those little bit of freedom, this is the poster that came out. And this bit of freedom got very important all of a sudden, because with this little bit of freedom, you could influence the bigger picture. So that was very interesting also to see that people really like to look for patterns and things they could recognize and try to build something that makes sense. So try to see a square and finish it, or a lot of people trying to connect. If you saw 4 lines connecting to one dot, and it was possible within the reach of your freedom, then you would also connect to that dot. So there's really this urge of collaboration to make something together that, you know, somehow makes a recognizable thing. Or some people try to make images or so forth. So that is also the difference to random. I mean, there you really feel that there is this tension and that somebody tried to make sense out of sort of a bit chaotic situation. You see the parallels, lines. So yeah, this idea is also that you don't design the whole poster, but you just design, you're only busy with a very small little detail. And then you see what comes out. That is very characteristic of that process. That's it. Another project that deals with collective is this one. It's called Wouters. And trying to make something, make a system that you can profit from the collective, from the outside world, in order to create something that you would not be able to make yourself. So that in the dynamics, to show the dynamics of the collective. And that was for an exhibition called Deep Screen Art in Digital Culture. In the Municipal Museum for Contemporary Art in Amsterdam. And so that's also related to Wikipedia and the fact that, you know, Web 2.0 and all the possibilities that you have to use the collective for certain purposes. And what I did is I gave every visitor of the museum a sticker, it was handed out, with 4 sheets, 4 stickers on them, and only the rule to place it, to glue it on the floor. And it was not allowed to glue it further away than the size of the sticker. That means you're not allowed to start somewhere in the space, but you have to connect it in the neighborhood of where it's sitting. So it's a very simple rule, in fact. And that's what came out after 3 weeks. There were also gradations in blue at the beginning. It was lighter, and after 3,000 stickers, people got a little bit darker blue stickers. So you could see also when what was blue. And that is what came out. Well, what I realized is that people try to spread as far as possible in the exhibition space instead of trying to connect or make condensed areas. It was really, really quickly going through the whole corridors and everywhere. And also, this shows very clearly that, again, what I said earlier, that you try to make sense, that you try to make patterns or repeat something that you see, or that at least if you don't repeat it, you behave exactly against it, but in that way it's also a reaction. And that also deals with this idea of computational randomness and human arbitrary choice, you could say. Because people just could glue it on the floor however they wanted it. But they, of course, were trying, it's really impossible to make an arbitrary choice. Because you, as soon as you do it, you just have to react. And what is very, I think another important criterion is that it's incredibly simple. You have only this triangle, this square, and that stimulates people to try to think of what could I all do with it. Because there are so few possibilities, it makes you creative. This is it. And I just made a similar project in Gijón, this is in Spain, north of Spain. In April, started it in a museum called Laboral, and there I'm starting it, doing the first sticker with the director of the museum, and this time I was asked to do something like that again, and this time I was having different rules and different shapes. So 2 round circles and 2 lines of different sizes. And it just started now, so it hasn't spread a lot. But already I was a bit disappointed. I mean, well, I first explained the rules. The rule was connect all elements. Second rule was they may not cross. They may touch each other but not cross each other. And the third rule was the line ends may not be open. They have to be closed in a certain way. That means to a line or to a circle. So what happened is that people would make nets, like net shapes, sort of network visualizations in fact. But you can do anything with it. I've tested it a lot of times. And I wanted to make actually the rules a bit less free and try to see what comes out then. Therefore, I thought the more precise I make the rules, the more tight, the more the people are triggered to really try to make something completely unexpected. But I don't know, is the difference between Holland and Spain, or I don't know. So far, it's more like this, a line and a circle as a node. But you could make bubble, cloud, you could hash, make lots of line, grid things. I'm curious, so it will last until August, what will come out. But I think it has to do also a lot with how you formulate exactly the rules, and in this case, circles and lines, we are so preoccupied to a node construction. Node constructions from networks, dot, line, connection, that this is hardly, if you see a line in a circle, you hardly can, people probably hardly can think of anything else than making this. So I suppose, I have some more. Here it's a bit different. That I like more like this machine shapes. Yeah, I've got a couple of more projects. Is it okay? Yeah. Because this is it's maybe interesting to see. I now have the visitors as input, my conditions were the rule sets. Yeah, it's always this in this construction. And now the input are the people all over the world, because this is a system which is super nice from Amazon, where you can make money by executing tasks, and everybody can put a task, it's called HIT, a human intelligent task, put it on the website. And then wherever you are online, it is used a lot in India. Loads of Indians are executing tasks, or people from all over the world. And it was actually developed, it is made by Amazon, developed platform. And in the first place, it was developed for programmers that needed a little bit of intelligence to test things, and a huge amount of people. So it's always very simple tasks that you have to do, but that cannot be done by a computer, only by an intelligent person. So some tasks, for example, you get hits, task there to write a comment, and you would earn 20 cents, or to write, on a blog, or to write blog posts, or to look through an archive of thousands of images and you see something weird. Something like that, like simple things. So what I did with Jonathan together again was we had supposed to design an annual report. And we thought, okay, that's so dry. And we tried to give it life, basically. And it became a sound piece spoken by people from all over the world. And we put the whole annual report into short fragments, like 200 fragments, and asked people to translate these fragments. But we also asked them not to use a dictionary, but translate it the way they think what it said, from Dutch to English, by the way. So sometimes, and we keep the structure. So sometimes it was very close to what it was actually meaning. Sometimes it was completely absurd and very funny and so on. So what it became in the end, so we put all the fragments together, and again, we asked to speak it, to record their voice. And then we put it as a sound file on the website with subtitles of the original annual report. And what is nice about the sound, I could play it.
The museum director of many years left on September 1st, 2007. In August 2008, New had a successful art show in the Leeds Museum. 2007 was a depressing year for the art world. Many people retired and some died. Lots of them were old. New and young people are needed to replace these vacant positions to bring the museum back to life again.
To see famous people on the news and everyday practical instances, you must have a team of effective people and have a program on how to do this. It is also essential to have time and the desire to see such people.
I think it just makes sense to play to you because you don't speak English, or some of you, or whatever, it's too quick, and you don't see the subtitles, you don't see the connection. But I still want to play briefly, because what with the sound files we got back is of course the story, but at the same time lots of information that I actually didn't ask for. It was so funny to hear this Indian background noise of a crowded street because people have the windows open, or you hear the copy machines in the background because people was executing these tasks at the workspace, or you would hear all these different intonations, and there's so much characteristic and so much information in sound files that we didn't actually think of in the first place. So it was a very rich, funny thing in the end. And then, we had to also make a print version, and then we made a PDF of this annual report, and the corresponding in Dutch and the corresponding fragment of the from the sound file was at the left, the blue underline. And you could click it, and then you would jump to the website, to the corresponding piece. So again, that was now the input was the mind and the characteristics of the people all over the world, the conditions, where my rules, my instructions that I gave to them. Here, this is actually also on the invitation. Here I played myself the machine, and together with Paulus, it was in a museum in Eindhoven, and the exhibition took place 10 days, and during the 10 days we were painting the walls. And the visitors of the museum, could steer us in the machine because they had the possibility to give us a color. We had a letter And we had the wooden pillar and 4 colors, everybody. And then they could place a color on the pillar. And after, because each color had a certain rule how I had to execute the color. And so after each execution, I have to check, is there a new color? Then I go down my ladder, put the other color back, take the new color, or I continue my old color. And so I show you, I tell you the rules while I run this animation. The question is, if you design conditions, where do they come from? What shall I do? And that depends always on the context and on the project that you're dealing with. And in this case, we had nothing. A free autonomous project again. So there was only the wall and the height of the wall and us painting. So we thought, okay, then let's work with our own body. So the drawing, the 4 different rules emerged from our body proportions. That's why it's called Vitruvian paint machine, because the Vitruvian man was the guy that Da Vinci made the circle, the proportions, with the circle and the square. And I very briefly explained the 4 rules. Red was draw a circle, and the circle was related to my wrist, the size, the radius of my wrist. And if it was not touching the end of the circle, another color, I could go 1 radius higher, my red circle, and that would be my elbow. So the radius of the red circle would be my elbow. Even if that wouldn't not touch another color, I could go 1 radius higher and use my shoulder as the radius. Then the black line, when I had black, I had to draw straight lines, and the straight lines were my reach, my widest reach I could do. And so from the position where I was, I had to continue at the end of the last line and draw a line, and then I had 10 deviation of 10 degrees to continue. So that was black. Blue was draw a parallelogram, and that was because we had the ladder and we climbed up the ladder. So we had our body proportion movement of this. So if I was on the ladder from my last line, I looked, okay, where do I stand, and I'm in that position. I marked this point, and my hip, and I finished it as a parallelogram. So, and if I continued at blue, I was allowed to get 1 step more up, and then again more up. That's how you get this parallelograms going like this. And you also see that it never goes higher than a certain height. And you see blue never goes higher than the upper step of the ladder. And green was connect your center of the body to corner points. So if I go to green, I had to look where I'm standing at that moment and take my center. And there was one nice situation. So you could say, it's very complicated or complex rules. And but the visitors didn't really need to understand that. They just could pick a color based on whatever. Some people, most of the people, or a lot of people, picked red because they right away recognized the red little circles. And I really never liked that so much because it only looked like cherries a little bit. And so now I would do the rules differently, or choose other colors. And one man was there that was really choosing the color based on the rules. And he was really playing with us. He was there for 3 hours and continuously placing a new color. He really had a plan what to draw, in fact. Yeah. So that was nice because we put the rules public so people could study them. And it was nice because about limitations, speaking about limitations again, because I had a little bit, I was executing, I was a machine, but I still had a little bit of freedom because I could choose, do I draw the circle from the right to the left or from the left to the right, for example. And I had to continue with the next at the end of my previous line. So I could determine very much in which direction the drawing would go. So I'd go to left or right, it would go then in this direction, or in this. So I had a plan a little bit, yeah? So I think, oh wow, this is free space, I can go in this direction. But then somebody else came, put another color, and they couldn't go there. And there was this constant tension between being able to do something and actually not being not. So, and both the visitors as well had only to a certain extent influence on the drawing. So, that is, I think that's basic. That was 4 things to mention. This is, what you've just seen is a project that emerged actually from this project, which is a very simple thing because we, every Tuesday evening, after we wrote the manifesto, we thought, let's come together and continue and make small exercises or mini workshops with the 4 of us on my kitchen table that to rehearse a little bit within this kind of thinking. So we made also a poster series where every week somebody else of us 4 had to think of a set of rules and then we would draw that. And the only constraints was that we had to execute it on one evening at my table. And then also what was fixed was the color. I always have blue. Jonathan always has black, the other green, so everybody has its fixed color, and we have our fixed position at the table. So there are certain, that's also nice things that you cannot change. And then we photograph it from up, so you see how it emerges. So we photograph it like every second a picture. Or even quicker, like clock, 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 clock. So we have movies from all those posters. So we wanted to make actually slowly emerging, living posters. And these are the different couple of projects. And what is important was for us that we actually didn't really know what would come out. We have a little bit of a plan. We develop the rules, but it's very important for us that we collaborate. So we have the situation that if you go there and I go there, then we could maybe find out, or then it's maybe possible to connect here. So it's always like together making a strategic thing. And sometimes the rules are very complex and sometimes very simple. For example, this was just don't lift your pen for 2 hours from the sheet and never cross the line. So we were drawing for hours and then you see what happens, what do you do if you cannot think anymore? You just have to move. Yeah? And then going under each other on the table and above. You're not allowed to stop longer than 2 seconds, something like that. And this one was also very simple. That instruction was cover. We were blindfolded, and we had to cover the whole poster each with their own color. So you don't really know. So you had to find assistant blind that you know that you have been there and that's part of the poster and so forth. until we thought, okay, we're through. You felt it even, because the paper, if you would touch it all the time, would get softer and wetter, and then you thought, okay, and it's covered. And that one was even distribution. You don't see it well. The kettle is we always had to place a dot and in rounds and look that it's evenly distributed. And here that's more complicated. I don't explain now. And I see one movie to show how they look then of the hatching poster, which is each color got a angle assigned. For example, red has between 0 and 45 degrees that it was allowed to draw. And the other color had 45 till 90 degrees. And the third color had between 90 and 135, and the last color, the last part. So you had to place a dot, connect it to another dot when it was your turn. We always play the turns. And connect to another dot, but only if it's in the range of your degrees, if it's in your possible range. And then connect it to another line, possibly already connected dot. So the goal was to hatch a field with your color in the direction of the line you placed. Whatever. You can read the rules on the website. But it's funny because, well, we didn't really think beforehand how it would look in the end. It was more, okay, I have this idea, I attach a degree to a color, and then I see what happens, and it became really a sort of a three-dimensional thing. The idea was to exhibit. This series, we have like 13 now posters. Well, not the originals, but to exhibit the movies in the size of a real poster, 100 by 70 by 100, projected, but we haven't done it yet. I can imagine that it's very nice to see all those movements of actions, of making it next to each other. And we have really high quality movies, and it's really expensive to have 30 high definition images. I showed very briefly two projects which are applied, very applied. I mean, I've shown a couple of applied projects, but I can imagine that you also want to see, okay, in my daily life, how did I do then? This thinking. And then I showed two projects which is about tools, designing tools, because if you design tools, you also don't design really the thing, but you think of an environment, the tool, the instrument, and depending on who uses the instrument, and depending on the input, you have different outcomes. And this is a tool that, so this is an animation, I don't do that one. Jonathan made, it's a plugin for the script focus. It's a plugin for Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator, where you can draw with text. And so I designed a catalog for the Municipal Museum for a drawing exhibition. It was in fact with this tool, and I drew the whole catalog by hand. So and you see that the first page was just to show the different like signatures and sketches. And here is page by page. The only rule I gave to myself was try to draw as straight as possible. First, make the whole layout regularly in design and print it out and so forth. And then I tried to imitate this very classical fact plan layout and draw it with this tool. So here again, I think the nice thing is that it reveals the imperfection of drawing straight, drawing by hand. Also the captions and the page numbers. I don't know whether you can see it very well. Here you see it better. That it slowly is always shifted. It was really incredibly lots of work, like 120 pages or something, which takes a lot. And here it was also this whole action of the process of drawing itself, this really physical act. And the nice thing, or the idea also behind Jonathan's tool, his text tool, is that you use technology or the computer as an extension of your human characteristics, you could say, that you have a more direct feeling, like you draw directly on screen with your mouse, and that's how it looks. I go quickly. To draw that, maybe 2 months. But I was not only drawing that time. For example, the editing was a lot of work, because then there were mistakes and I had to throw away parts and then draw it again. So that was a lot of work. I first layouted it in design regularly, and then I knew how it should become, and then I knew, okay, this is how I have to draw it, and I placed in my tool the amount of text where I knew this is the amount of text which should go on that one page. So that is a sort of a typography example. I have another typography example, starting with tape again, which is an identity for Stein. Stein is in Amsterdam, an institute for electronic arts and performance, electronic music, performance arts. And so I'm starting again with this physical act of gluing tape. And I liked a lot this overlaps and the patterns that emerge from the overlapping. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can make a tool, a typographical tool, where the patterns emerge from the typography that you start with. So I started to glue the windows, different Stein, S-T-E-Y, no, S-T-I-E-I, and versions. And this turned into a digital tool that can make things like that. So again, I did that together with a letter that is a Dutch couple, tag designer and programmer. And the idea was also not to make a typeface where you change the typeface itself, but the type is negative and the space around the tape grows or changes or shows structure. So this is another example. You can make thousands of things. Here you see a little bit that what it does. This is just, you can define, I'll show you the tool in a second. Replicate the tape strokes. You can change the parameters of overlapping, rotation, the width, as this is the tool. So you see on the left that you have a couple of choices to influence this. I show it to you live. Wait. It's my last name, by the way. This is it. So I can write one. Yeah, you can play with that. So, yes. Well, you can make the thing is that you can make very slick images with it. With slick, I mean smooth and, very generative sort of expression. But it depends a little bit how you use it. And there, the idea is that I tell them as well, don't use too thin strokes, rather thick strokes, so it has a little bit more this edgy feeling of the manual gluing, because that is for me quite important, that it remains like that. For example, can you also say? Whatever. It gets a totally different thing. I'm not going now into detail what to do everything with it. The idea is that the typeface itself, the letters, the shape of the letter generate the pattern of the image in the end. So it's 8:15 already. I think I've shown you enough. But that would be really nice if you have some questions. Yes, sir?
Wait. Wonder to clear the floor after the stickers. I mean, in the museum.
The museum, the Stedley Museum, the blue sticker thing, was the last exhibition, and they moved to another space. The space was demolished. So now got removed, and in Gijón, in Spain, somebody wants to remind me. Oh, the stickers are, by the way, removable, but still, you say glue and people move over it after 3 months. It's a lot of work, yeah. So it's their problem.
It's funny, when you talk about restrictions, you also tend to do this. You say, I set restrictions, and then it's a rigid system.
Yeah.
And your whole design is always between freedom and restriction.
Yeah,
and this is we discussed sometimes.
Okay.
What about when you put restriction
Yeah.
on the other side, someone says, I'm not free. So how do you feel this relationship between freedom is free and working with restrictions? Which is basically...
Exactly, I think it is really important to have restriction, because, I mean, that's obvious, because I work in that all the time. Because then you can engage with something. You need a frame. You need a border to engage with in order to be involved. And only then there's becoming this tension, or this quality that you're looking for. If you this freedom, you can do whatever, then there's like floating, and there is nothing you can push against. Yeah? I mean, you can translate that on life, yeah? On all scales. So the tighter you are, the more exciting it is.
And also sometimes we work with restrictions we're not even aware of, like any basic design instrument we use such restrictions we are not.
That is really important. No, exactly. It's important to be aware, to really look well at your environment. What are in fact the restrictions that I take for granted? also a good thing, you know, that you say, oh, it's not possible because I don't have the right tool. Yeah, that's no excuse. Obviously.
Just a
Yeah.
the basic programming.
Huh?
But just a little basic programming.
Yeah, but there's so many ways to make things without being able to program. I cannot program. I mean, I understand the programming bit. I mean, the structures and principles and all of things, but I'm not a programmer.
And how much do you work with your own tools and how much with the standard design programs available?
Yeah, I mean, I always work with standard design programs, but just for, they're not making my design. I use them for, how to say, for example, I'm busy now with a catalog. Actually, that's going to be sewn, but I prepare everything on the computer with the programs, but then later on, it goes to certain women, a couple of women, and they actually execute and do it over again. So in a sense, then I do use the regular design programs as well, but I'm a lot of times not using them for the design itself, or only at the finishing is finished something, you know? Like for example, the sign project, you can do all over all different things. I mean, in the end, you do also use InDesign to place the PDF inside and send it to the printer. And also neglecting.
I can notice a lot of connections with conceptual art and solely with.
So the bit, what?
Yeah, solely. Yeah. How much did it influence your work?
I think I like Solid a lot.
Yeah, but
But he gives instructions, he doesn't need to execute it himself. I mean, to explain to the rest. So the bit also wrote a manifest, he makes artworks that are also describable with rules. Oh, yeah, and he let other people make it. And I think it's very important to be part of the execution, or that this, well, in certain projects, as I told you about the involvement, so there is something that you can play with limitations. Or I set up the project in such a way that I'm looking for external input, that I'm looking for the behavior of other people, then I want other people to execute it. But then I think that's that, you know, is I wouldn't. You understand?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
And the role played by the form itself.
Sorry?
The role. Do you prefer the code? I mean, do you prefer the rules or the image, the final image that comes?
Yeah, well, the final image should be, there are a lot of ideas about that. It should be transparent. Ideally, you should see the rules when you look at the thing. And that is very difficult. So in that sense, a lot of projects are not, but I've shown. Yeah, that I want to explain, for example, in this one, here, we're looking for emergent patterns. And emergent pattern means that a new pattern happens that you didn't really think of. You only design the components and the rules, but then when you execute it, all of a sudden a new structure gets visible that you actually get surprised by. So we were looking for that in this project, for example. And it's not really succeeded in that sense, the emergence, you know, that you, wow, this is a new pattern is there. I mean, it's super systematic, although it looks very flowery and intuitive, it's totally systematic execution. But so in that sense, it's, what was the question? No, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I think was more important for you the image?
Oh, yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Yeah, the rules. So in that sense, it's not really separatable. You cannot really separate it because I'm very much curious about the process and what's happening, what pattern emerges. So, and to read it, you know.
Sorry. Why did you choose the sea? Why did you choose the sea for the first project and not the forest, for example? Why the sea?
The sea or not the forest?
For example.
Yeah, that's a good question. There are lots of times in all these projects it's intuitive. Because it seems a lot of things very objective, as it's almost like scientific research. But it's purely based on subjective decisions. Like I was interested, Holland has almost no forest, but it has a lot of sea. And the patients in the hospital that I'm supposed to make a project for, I thought it was beautiful to look at the cycles of the sun and the sea and the combination of the light and the sea and this whole organism taking place. So that was my personal choice. What to capture, what process I find interesting.
So there is no rule.
No, it's really lots of also why do I make this food for my body? Well, the setting up the rules and setting up the conditions. This is lies the quality of the designer, you could say. And that is where the subjectivity is. And the objectivity is because you don't do anything then anymore. You don't touch it back anymore. It just doesn't. The system that works. You can tweak it maybe a little bit at the beginning and then that's all. So that's why it has the air and it has the appearance of objectivity. But the rules is subjective.
Thank you.
Sorry, just the practical question. When did you find this style, this way of thinking?
When it happened?
Yeah, this strategy of design, did you decide it just one time? Or
No, it's what I said. First of all, this, what we call the conditional design, is we're not the only ones that think that way. There are lots of people busy with similar thoughts. And there are lots of people that like that a lot because it really fits very well in our environment. This is what I said at the beginning, the constant change, the flow, and just not try to make static things against the flow, but just, use the flow for your work. And the thinking emerged many years, over the years, that I was fascinated by structures, patterns, technology, the idea of control, giving away control, because we have the idea we can control our environment with technology. I think I'm reachable on my mobile phone all the time. I can, when I'm on the mountain, I'm in fact still in control of the world because I can. So this concept of control has tremendously grown. But at the same time, we know that we cannot control our world. That we are living on all these entities and nodes, and once they come together, there is complexity. There are patterns, things that we haven't expected, or and that's I find very fascinating, the concept of complexity. And then it's about organisms, and that you think more in organisms when designing as well. Do you understand? No. You look like you don't. Well, Yeah, exactly. That you think more of components and that you let them interact, or you let it happen rather than forcing it in a way.
Because now you exactly know what you do, what the rules you do, what the rules of design. But 20 years before, I mean, you know.
No, but for each project, I have to develop it. There's no recipe for designing rules. Depends on what you want to show, what you're interested in. Yeah.
I was wondering if you have ever worked with children in any of your works.
Whether I've worked with children,
Yes. And how do they react?
only one workshop I get for children. Yeah, no, because it's so game-like. Yeah, but actually, that's why do you ask this question? Yeah, I know. No, I wonder why you think of children.
Because they are not so easy to respect the rules. They are more spontaneous.
Yeah, but look, for example, the blue fungus and the red fungus, especially the stickers on the floor, is something that children love to do. It's a lot of liberty and freedom for expression, you could say. And it was actually a funny thing what happened with this project in Spain, because it was so stiff there. There were many, many people, but there is a director and very hierarchical. And then I explained the project, and the crowd at the opening had started to do. People were crawling all over the floor and laughing, and it was totally a different atmosphere in this whole art space. So I think it's even adults like to play. But I understand your question was a different one. It was more like children don't obey rules. But I think somehow try to make it
a rule of the game, or as a rule that they want to do exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
I was
You can
curious
incorporate
about
this in your.
if they get it as a rule of the game, so then let's play, or if they just want to do exactly the opposite.
I think that's the difference between play and game also. With play you have more ingredients, components that have maybe characteristics, and you can do whatever with it. And game is more that you have to behave in a certain setting. It's an observation that Bates did. Gregory Bates.
So from what I understand, playing these kind of games is something regularly do every week. So how does this affect your, how does it influence your, let's say, normal working life, which?
Well, it's very hard to keep up. Well, we actually didn't do it. Now we do also, we're asked to do it for a magazine, and it's published in a magazine, Dutch design magazine. And people are really very positive to it. So we get a lot of questions to do workshops, to exhibitions, and whatever in all over. And it's really hard because I love to do that and respond to that. But at the same time, I also want to translate that into applied design work. So I guess the more, and that I find it a pity, the more free experimental work I do, the more I'm asked to do more free experimental work. But I say, wait, I want to do design work and do the experiment within the design, which is possible. Each of the design applied projects I would see as well as an experiment. For me, there's no difference. But I like it to work with boundaries, with the constraints of the assignment, or the problematic, you could say, of the assignment. So, yeah, a lot of people, it's like the other way around. They think, oh, now I have to make another design job, but I rather would like to be completely free.
Then you try to set this kind of rules for design work where you have to do that for some time.
That I have to give it up.
Like the time issue or something like that. Or maybe
Yeah,
like something in the process that
yeah,
allow you to do this kind of approach to apply design.
yeah. That it didn't, that it failed. You mean, huh? No. No, but sometimes it takes a while. So, for example, design tool took long to develop because I tried a lot of things. Yeah. No, I never. No, I wouldn't even do it. I don't. I mean, I like to adjust, and that the client has another request, and I have to adjust things. And I would never change my approach because of that. I cannot work with it. It doesn't make sense. Like, oh, and now I use this method. No, today not. But this client, I use this whatever. It's just, oh, I'm interested in it. And then there is, and then the client most of the time is also fascinating. Most of the time it's a mutual interest in it. But also, yeah, I hope it stays like that. Yeah.
One thing, I seem to remember some video which creating branches. Was it connected to this Luna Maurer idea?
Oh, the how to draw the tree.
How to draw a tree.
I know that Luna Maurer teaches at school, right?
So what, because
It was inspired, yeah. Because it was beautiful, it was made.
it sets rules of how to draw trees. So.
Exactly, yeah, because I have not told the others that it's not, I can show it. It's, yeah, it's just how to, a way of making a branch, and then we were doing the tape in the outside. Oh, you were in Amsterdam, but we were doing it. Ah, true. Yeah.
Hi, I'm always astonished by the process of this kind of designing. But the question is, when you are talking to a client, you have nothing to show. For example, when you usually show a project, we show a mark, a logo, or some brand lines, brand guide lines. So we show something that is real, or for example, already drawn.
You mean as if in the first presentation, in the first
Yeah,
talk of the
exactly.
client?
Because we always like the process of this kind of design, but we don't know how it ends. So how do you present it to a client?
At the beginning, I present the concept, but I don't show. No, can I understand again what you say? At the beginning, you show logos or other brands that you refer to before you start the process, and then you develop something and you end somewhere. And then the client understands, oh, it came from these references. No, when I present something, I explain the concept. I mean, I don't understand really. I think of an idea, of a principle that I want to make. And that has a reason. That is not just like that, you know. It's related to some problem, to some interest, or to some characteristic of the client. And then maybe there is referential material, of course, in the world, but it's probably not another brand, but it's then maybe a tree, you know, that you refer to, or a principle from a tree. And then that's how I present it. I don't show other design, I never show other designed objects or projects that I refer to. I never refer to, hopefully.
Yeah, because our clients does not want to are surprised sometimes. So they just want to know what exactly what they want to have. Yes.
No, but I think you should convince them of something else. No, if you totally believe that you can educate the client, I mean, you are the ones that are responsible for what everything looks like later. And it's not that you have to reproduce what has been done, but you have to be responsible in order to broaden the imagination of the clients. Because otherwise clients stay thinking the way it always has looked. I mean, that's a self-referential principle, which is really deadly for progress. Okay, so yeah, but I mean, obviously in Holland, I think it's more free, the spirit. Clients are more open for experiment, probably, I'm sure it is. It's more, Germany already, I think, is more conservative in that sense, but not so, let's say, playful and not so open for ages. But I still think that you can convince. If you have a good plan, interesting plan, I totally believe that you can convince the clients and be with you in the boat, basically.